afternoon. As it is 5:30 p.m., I will call this City Council meeting of July 1st, 2025 to order. We acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people and pay our respect to those past and present. Tonight's invocation will be led by Pastor David Jenkins of Living Faith Church. Immediately following will be the Pledge of Allegiance, so please remain standing for both.
Let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before you, Lord. We thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us, Lord, the opportunity to come and to continue to lead this city, Lord. I pray for our city council, our mayor. We pray for our police department, our fire department, and our EMS workers as well, Lord. As this council leads this city, Lord, I pray for your wisdom to operate in them and through them, God, your compassion and your insights, Lord, that would only make this community better. We ask you to just let your perfect will be done in this time, in this season. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Councilmember Marshall, please lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this will be both a physical meeting and a virtual meeting. Some members of city staff or consultants may be participating via teleconference. Today's meeting will be viewed on YouTube, Facebook, and following the meeting on cable channel 10 HD 1090. Everyone is present with the exception of Councilmember Wittgenstein, who is asked to be excused as he had a family commitment, so I would entertain a motion to excuse Councilmember Wittgenstein from tonight's meeting. We have a motion by Councilmember Merrow, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. I would also like to note that Attorney Bob Zeideman from the city's legal firm of Kenyon Deasond is attending online, substituting for our Miss Hillary Evans, who's normally with us. Approval of agenda. Staff has requested to remove consent agenda item F, Resolution 2520, adopting a revised employee policy manual and return with it at a later date. Are there any other suggested changes to the regular agenda? All right, hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Mayor Pro Tem?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
And seconded by Councilmember Marshall. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We are going to move right along to our presentations. We have a couple of those this evening, the first being our Oak Harbor Music Festival. And here to introduce this is Miss Cynthia Mason.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. It's that time of year. I get to come up here once a year and thank you all very much for your ongoing support, both Mayor, Council, staff, the LTAC committee support for bringing this incredible event to Oak Harbor. We're in our 14th year. Can you believe that? So Margaret and Skip, part of our board, Margaret's a founding member. Larry is standing behind me. Skip Grehan is involved with operations. I have River Powers, who's our secretary in charge of merchandise, who's in here. Diana Bodine and Mary Elizabeth Himes, new to our board members. Rachel Spears. And did I forget anybody? Myself, Cynthia. We just handed out our brag book. It's our annual report reflecting on details of where our funding comes from, what we're spending our money on, just a snapshot of where that $287,000 comes from and goes for our event. Mostly, I'd like to point out what the community gives. We have over 500 shifts that fill the weekend, and our volunteers clock in almost 1,900 hours for the weekend, which almost matches the boards throughout the year. So without going into too much detail, I want to introduce Larry, who is going to introduce our video and say a few things about the lineup this year. Right?
I'd be happy.
Thank you.
My name's Larry Mason, and really excited about the lineup this year, as I always am, but I still want to say, like Friday night, I have Joel Gibson Jr., new member that's never played here before. The Olsen brothers are going to be back on Friday, and the Talbot brothers. Not to mention, there's a bunch of other bands. I mean, there's over 30 bands playing. Saturday, Leroy Bell and His Only Friends, huge success for the Oak Harbor Music Festival. He's coming back one more time. And Diggin' Dirt from Humboldt County. It's the third time I've booked this band, and hopefully they'll make it this time. They got caught in a fog, and they couldn't fly up here last year. So anyway, we're going to work on that. And then on Sunday, got a great band from Oklahoma City. Jason Scott and the High Heat are going to be playing on Sunday, and really looking forward to that. So, and we have a video from last year, which I'd like to play for you.
So fun. So, yes, yay to everybody. So with that, we'll not take up too much more of your time, and I just say thank you again, not to not mention the 4th year of our Sounds of Summer concert series in Windjammer Park, partnering with Windermere North Whidbey. That begins the last week of July on Wednesdays, running 4 shows every week up until that Labor Day weekend. And in closing, thank you all very much, and we'll just keep inspiring our community with the power of music. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And Mayor, we do have an opening ceremony on August 29th, Friday, 6 p.m., and we would like to invite you to come up and speak.
Thank you. I'd be honored to. Thank you.
And everybody else is, of course, invited to the Oak Harbor Music Festival, 3 days of free music.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. All right, we have another presentation, that being the Oak Harbor Police Department, promotion of Captain Kevin Barton to Deputy Police Chief. Immediately following the swearing-in, we'll do a 5-minute break to allow for pictures, so, okay?
Mayor, City Council, guests, and Oak Harbor Police Department staff, I really appreciate everyone being here today. This is actually a very big moment for the Oak Harbor Police Department. We're starting this restructuring that has been about a year and a half in the planning, and has only been possible because of the tremendous support from the mayor and the city council. Additionally to our new position of deputy police chief, we've created 2 lieutenant positions that just closed yesterday, and we're excited to...
Chief, no one online can probably hear you because there's no microphone, so.
Okay. All right, I'll hold this like this. All right. So I just wanted to say that Captain Barton, now Deputy Chief Barton, or soon to be, has been a tremendous asset to the police department. Just in the year that he's been here, we've already developed a 5-year strategic plan. He's been instrumental in deploying our professional development software, instrumental in our agency partnerships regionally, and everything's just going great. So we really appreciate that. So to get things going, I want to invite Christina, his wife, up to pin Deputy Chief Barton. Okay, if you can raise your right hand. I, Kevin J. Barton, do solemnly swear
I, Kevin J. Barton, do solemnly swear.
I will support and obey the Constitution,
I will support and obey the Constitution,
the laws of the United States,
the laws of the United States,
the laws of the state of Washington,
the laws of the state of Washington,
the ordinances of the city of Oak Harbor,
the ordinances of the city of Oak Harbor,
and that I will abide by the law enforcement code of ethics
and that I will abide by the law enforcement code of ethics
adopted by the Oak Harbor Police Department,
adopted by the Oak Harbor Police Department.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of Deputy Chief for the city of Oak Harbor.
And I will faithfully discharge the duties of Deputy Chief for the city of Oak Harbor.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And I think Deputy Chief Barton wants to say a few words.
Yeah, that's great. I guess that explains the fancy car now, huh, Deputy Chief?
Well, I won't take too much of your time. I know there's a lot on the council's agenda tonight, so I will keep my remarks brief. But I am truly honored to accept the promotion to Deputy Chief. It truly is such a privilege to work alongside the dedicated men and women of the Oak Harbor Police Department. These people are amazing, and they give their best every day, serving this community with heart and passion. I want to express my sincere gratitude to the residents of Oak Harbor, our city council, and to our mayor for your unwavering support. Your belief in our police department allows us to do our jobs with purpose, pride, and a sense of community. I deeply appreciate the strong partnerships that we share, and they are essential to everything that we do. Chief Slowick, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to be a part of your leadership team. This has been an amazing experience thus far, and I look forward to continuing our work together in building this police department, not only to meet the needs of our community today, but also prepare for the challenges that it will face tomorrow. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention how incredibly thankful I am for my friends, mentors, and family who have guided me and encouraged me throughout my career. While most could not make it tonight, I do want to acknowledge my Uncle Ron, who traveled quite a distance here tonight. Thank you for coming, Ron. To my wife, Christina, and my daughters, Olivia and Peyton, girls, you guys are amazing. Your love, sacrifice, and unwavering support means everything to me. My successes could not have been achieved without you, and I'm forever grateful. I love you guys. In closing, as I step into this role, I do it with humility, determination, and a deep commitment to our city. And I'm excited for what lies ahead, and I'm proud to be a part of this police department and the city's future. Thank you.
So do you want to take a 5-minute break for pictures? And yeah, okay. So we'll come back at 5:50.
You want to do it up there?
All right, we are going to continue on here. Members of the public may comment on consent agenda items or subjects of interest not listed on the agenda at this time. There will also be an opportunity to comment on the remaining agenda items during the meeting as appropriate. Comments on public hearing items will be heard during that portion of the agenda. The public can also visit our website prior to our meetings for methods to submit public comments or contact the city clerk, Julie Nestor, by phone or email. When submitting comments, please include your name and address. Public comments sent anonymously or from a non-verifiable address will be shared with the mayor and council, but will not be displayed. We received 4 new public comments since our last regular meeting. They are displayed here on the screen. All right. Are there any members of the public present who wish to speak to items not listed on the agenda or on the consent agenda? If so, the clerk will call your name in order in which you signed in to speak. Please step forward to the microphone and state your name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Mayor, the first person signed up to speak today is Joshua Treadwell.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Treadway.
Thank you. My name is Joshua Treadway. I live at 1141 Southwest Heller Street. 2 months ago, I stood before you and issued a warning that at the time I was worried was an overreaction and alarmist. But that warning has turned into fulfilled prophecy. We are seeing it now in large cities across the country. In LA, in Boston, even Houston, ICE is deputizing bounty hunters to conduct warrantless raids while often not coordinating or even communicating with local law enforcement agencies. They wear masks, they refuse to identify themselves, they knock down doors and make arrests without judicial oversight. And this is not happening in the shadows, it is in broad daylight under the banner of federal authority. And it will come here. Because Oak Harbor is not exempt. We are a military town, but even that status is not a shield. Veterans, active duty spouses, and military families have already been swept into detention or face deportation under current policies. Service to this country does not guarantee protection from its own government. And yes, not every immigrant is here legally, but that only underscores how shocking it is that even asylum seekers, green card holders, and lawful residents are being detained in squalid, degrading conditions. Hundreds of thousands have had their legal status revoked without notice. Their asylum claims are dismissed without hearings. The Trump administration, even this week, has listed denaturalization of citizens as a current priority. And Alligator Alcatraz, the floating detention barge, is set to become a concentration camp in all but name. I shudder to think what this kind of authoritarianism has led to in other eras of history. And we've seen it before, the denial of due process, the dehumanization of the other, the rounding up of those deemed undesirable. Any of you with a high school understanding of world history and some pattern recognition know how badly this could end. So let me be clear, this is not hypothetical. It's happening. The news is fully accessible to each of you. These are not rumors. So that leaves the question, what will you, the Oak Harbor City Council, do? I understand your power is limited. I understand that this is not, nor does it want to be, a partisan council. But limited power is not the same as no power, and civil rights and human dignity are not partisan. You can issue a statement. You can pass a resolution affirming that here in Oak Harbor, due process is not optional and civil rights are not up for negotiation. So please take a stand, speak while you have the opportunity, before the unspoken fears of what comes next becomes our reality too.
Thank you, Mr. Treadway.
Mayor, the other person who is signed up on our list is signed up to speak to a public hearing item later in the agenda.
Okay, great. So is there anybody else with us this evening that didn't sign up that would like to speak to something that's not on the agenda? Sure, step forward, state your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Valerie Alanis. My address is 4180 Jones Road. I am not an official resident of Oak Harbor in terms of city, but I am as far as county goes. And my complaint is about the overreach of government in the sense of, just to kind of piggyback off the last comment of, when we call law enforcement and we are trying to report a crime and we are trying to report it anonymously. I wanted to give this comment anonymously, but technically it is it's simple Google search, actually. It's my First Amendment right to be anonymous. So it's really frustrating. This is on behalf of a friend who did not want to speak because, again, she wants to remain anonymous. This is a small town, small island. People like to listen to the scanner for fun. And, people calling to report crimes should not be met with a challenge of, your birthday, I need your birthday, I need your social security number, and I need all this information because you're trying to report a crime. It's like, no, I'm trying to report a crime. I don't understand why we are tussling about this. It's not just that. This kind of goes back to a concern that I have, especially with the Trump administration and this big, beautiful bill that just passed, and this new 911 operating center that is going to go in effect that our sales taxes are paying for, in the sense of what kind of technology are you going to be using and gathering on the citizens, and how is this going to be applied to us? If we can't even call and report a simple crime without dealing with a 911 operator who is literally trying to fight us, and you guys have simple caller ID, you guys have, GPS ping technology, you guys have, advanced technology. So I just don't understand why it is so hard to report a crime. That's my comment.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here with us this evening that would like to step forward and make public comment at this time? All right, hearing none, I will close public comment and move on to our next item, which is the consent agenda. We will now move to the consent agenda. Staff has presented the listed consent agenda items, all of which were included in the meeting packet. We have already removed item F. Are there any objections or changes to the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented, as amended. I apologize.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, motion to approve the consent agenda as amended, seconded by Councilmember Merrow. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Passage unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to mayor's comments. Bear with me. Oak Harbor's inaugural Pride Walk was Saturday, June 21st. It was my honor to walk and be a speaker for our city's first Pride Walk, organized by Amina Kazi-Ludal and Nicole Bradley. More than 200 people participated. Thank you to all who attended to celebrate pride and inclusivity in our community. Association of Washington City's annual conference. Councilmembers Arms, Merrow, Wiggenstein, and I attended the annual AWC conference June 24th through June 27th in Kennewick. where we engaged with statewide leaders, shared ideas and successes, and made many valuable contacts. I presented a legislative boot camp forum. Councilmember Merrill participated in the Pride of Flags ceremony and proudly carried our city of Oak Harbor flag among 60 other Washington cities. The Wright Blend barbecue and conversation with the mayor. Thank you all in our community that attended. On behalf of the city staff who braved the cool and windy weather at June's Wright Blend at Catalina Park. Thank you to the Yacht Club for partnering with us for the barbecue. The Wright Blend is going on summer break and will resume this fall. Watch our website for updates. Welcome summer communications interns. The city has 2 college student interns working with communications officer Maggie Aguilar this summer. She really loves that one of them is a UW student since she's a Cougar. Caitlin is a student at the University of Dallas, and Nolan is a University of Washington student. You will see both of them at a variety of events and assisting in the admin office. Highlighting staff. Every now and then I like to highlight cool things members of our staff do on their time. Our principal planner, Rajesh Kamak, recently scaled Mount Baker. He shared some of his amazing photos with us. Way to go, Kak. 4th of July, the Oak Harbor Chamber of Commerce is hosting 4 days of 4th of July festivities from July 3rd to July 6th. See their website for more information. Members of the City Council and I will participate in the 4th of July parade. And then can I just see a show of hands of who intends on being there? Because I think we're just trying to finalize the float too with names. Okay, so Councilmember Arms, Councilmember, so the only one I don't know about is Councilmember Wittgenstein because he's not here, so we might want to just check in with him if he's going to be there. Okay. Our city clerk has issued a notice of attendance in anticipation of a quorum. No city business or action will be conducted or taken by the council. City of Oak Harbor Parade treat bags. Speaking of the 4th of July, look for the city officials and staff at the parade will be handing out treat bags to parents to carry home all goodies their kids get during the parade. Here's a photo of the bag, and they will have lots of goodies already inside them, too. Fireworks, hot topic right now. The city has received several inquiries about fireworks. Please note that per our city ordinance, 4th of July fireworks can only be set off in Oak Harbor during the dates and times displayed here on the screen. Fireworks are not permitted on public lands such as schools, parks, or beaches. More information about fireworks can be found on the city's firework regulations webpage. Upcoming events. July 26th is the Kids Fishing Derby at the Oak Harbor Marina, hosted by the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW 7392. Registration begins at 11 a.m. The Derby runs from noon to 1 p.m. August 9th, Sherwood Community Day at Windjammer Park from noon to 4 p.m. In addition to activities, Representative Dave Paul and Mike Etzel of Island County's Developmental Disabilities Program will provide a discussion of the importance of inclusive communities at 1 p.m. Advisory board vacancies. We still have openings on several of our city advisory boards and commissions. See the city's website for information on how to apply. Stay connected. Stay connected to city information and activities at any time by visiting our website and our Facebook page. With that, I'm going to open it up to council for their comments at this time. Or also just encourage you to share about your commissions that you sit on as chair. Yes, Councilmember Arms.
I want to say that I really enjoyed the AWC conference down in Kennewick. It was nice that we were close enough so we didn't have to drive after we settled in. And I met a lot of really interesting people. Lots of people shared information. It was a great time. I really enjoyed it. And, it was nice to see people from different areas and see their own. And it was amazing that most of them had the same experience we did. And so we were all kind of in the same thing. And we have 2 new Marine Advisory Boards been approved, and I'm really excited about that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Anybody else? Councilmember Merrill.
No new news with regard to the transit district, but I did want to mention the value of the AWC conference as well. It was the first time I've been off the island for a long time because I locked onto this island. I said, this is where my home is. I need to stay here, but I jumped at the opportunity to go learn some things and network. And so Barbara, the mayor, and then, who else do we have? Yeah, the Councilmember Wiggins, not here. Anyway, it was a great time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Romero. Councilmember Stuckey.
Yeah, just to respond to a couple of the comments. Regarding the fireworks, we do follow the RCWs. I mean, as a municipality, we can be more strict, but we do follow the RPCWs as far as when they can be fired off. I do remember having a meeting 2 or 3 years ago about narrowing down that time frame of when we could do fireworks. There really wasn't much in the way of comment. I believe it hit the news times, which then hits the social media, and it's a mixed bag. You know, it's one of those things that if we restrict it, there'll be so many people unhappy. If we loosen it, so I would just say it's a conversation we can have again if enough people write in and want us to address it. The other thing I had is in regards to the comment about calling 911. So when you call 911, you call ICOM. That's not us. We don't have any control over them directly, but we do have people on their board. I've called 911 myself. I don't remember being asked for my social and date of birth, but I don't know if one of our chiefs could talk a little bit about the process when someone calls 911, what's required by law. I mean, is there any thoughts maybe?
Certainly. So when a person calls 911, they do have the ability to remain anonymous. Often the dispatcher is going to ask for name and date of birth and those things to generate a name record. There is the ability to look at phone numbers and past history for addresses. So there is that type of technology. There was a concern brought up about future technology and those type of things. All of that stuff is kept confidential. It is confidential systems, so they are. If it does get released or released in public records request, it's redacted. So that's what it would be.
But we as a council don't have say over what the technology is or anything, because ICOM's a separate entity.
That's correct. ICOM is its own government entity.
Correct. And I think you can make a comment to the city anonymously. It's just not posted in public comments. It would go to council members and to mayor directly. And then my other question is, have we gotten any farther about a possible employee survey? Has that been discussed a little bit more internally, or what that could look like?
Yes, we are currently working on that. We've been doing some research, looking at some questions from another city that did a survey recently. And they did one a couple years ago and then one, I believe it was back in 2024. So we're looking at those questions, and we're also looking at consultants.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. Mayor Pro Tem.
I wanted to put Chief back on the spot regarding fireworks. You know, we have the ordinance that says you are allowed to light off fireworks in this particular designated time frame on these particular hours, but I mean, I've been hearing people lighting off fireworks for a week easily. So when someone in a residential neighborhood is lighting off fireworks outside of the approved hours, what does someone do? What recourse do we have?
Certainly. So anyone can call 911, report the firework disruption, and officers will respond when available. The challenge often is that you have to catch the person in the act of lighting off the fireworks. Often you'll find a group of people, fireworks have already been lit off, and you don't know who actually the person is. But it could be a fine. So if they were found, identified, they could be issued a fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, hearing nothing else, we're going to move on to public hearings and meetings. Our first topic is public hearing ordinance number 2025, clearing and grading code amendment. And here to introduce that is our senior planner, Dennis Lefevre. Is that still?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of the council. This is another touch for you on this proposed ordinance. And it's for clearing and grading. And currently, black Tim, please. Currently, the clearing process, permitting process is under the Administration of Development Services, while the administration of any grading permit is done by the Engineering Division of Public Works. It kind of caused some disjoint permitting of some of those issues. So what this ordinance will do is basically provide engineering with administration over both land clearing and grading. Since they're very closely linked, and a lot of the issues are very similar to both land clearing and grading, we thought engineering, since they are the experts in stormwater and water quality, thought that would be the appropriate place for land clearing as well. So we're going to combine the land clearing portion of our code and also provide some regulatory guidance in one municipal chapter, municipal code chapter. Okay. Thank you. Currently, the land clearing portion of our code is in chapter 1947. So what we are proposing to do is, in that combination of land clearing and grading, we're going to slide that over in Title 20, which is our environmental title. It just makes good sense to do that, since clearing and grading has a lot of overlapping linkages to items in Title 20, geologically hazardous areas, flood damage prevention, vegetation preservation, stormwater, water quality, to name just a few. So we thought that would be a logical place for that instead of in chapter 1947. We're going to be also consistent with other state laws. Forest practices is also currently handled in the engineering division. So that makes good sense to have all of that brought together under one chapter. It will also assist in the minor cleanup that we are doing on Title 19, which I think Nolan is going to be addressing in the next public hearing. So that's going to assist in that process. The process to date, I think, next, as you know, you've had several touches on this ordinance. Throughout the entire process, we've had coordination with Public Works and the engineering staff. We prepared a draft chapter. We did a CP checklist on that. We issued a determination of non-significance. That appeal had closed. We had no comments received. We did due diligence on the Department of Commerce 60-day notification. We also bounced it off our legal team, and the version that you have in your packet has been reviewed by our legal beagles. Planning Commission has had their substantial review, actually, in January, April, and they had their required public hearing in June last month. And then City Council, you also had a chance to look at it in January, April, and tonight is your public hearing. The requirements that we have in our municipal code for any development is under 1820-272C, where that any change to regulations requires a public hearing before the Planning Commission. And any actions taken by the Planning Commission take the form of a recommendation to the City Council. They did have the public hearing on June 10th, and they did make a positive motion to the City Council. And this hearing has been officially duly noticed. And a sample action motion for you is on that slide right there. So that concludes staff's presentation, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you very much. So at this time, I will open the public hearing, and I will confirm that no public comment have been received.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received in advance of this meeting on this item.
Great, thank you very much. And is there anybody that is here with us this evening that would like to step forward and make public comment at this time?
Yes, Mayor, we have Jeff Ward who would like to speak.
Thank you.
Howdy. I know it's a shocker on a municipal code issue. Jeff Ward, 891 Southeast Jensen Street, stone's throw that way. I've been taking a big interest in, Oak Harbor Municipal Code because I'm an engineer and I love it. I just wanted to point out something, and I'm truly sorry I wasn't there for the Planning Commission to bring this up. It looks like there's potentially a harmonizing issue with the RCW on this, in that the RCW is requiring middle housing to not be more restricted than single-family housing. And the exemptions that are in this are very clearly exempting single-family housing but not discussed with, or not also exempting middle family housing, which for the whole, for several of the planning review processes that are in there, which seems to be pretty directly in, against the RCW 3670A.635, specifically when it says exempting it from environmental review. I wanted to bring this up because this is a challenge going forward. We're required to meet that by the adoption of the comprehensive plan, city comprehensive plan, which is, in the works. So it's not something that should necessarily stop this from being adopted, but it's something that if it's not adjusted, will have to be revisited by the time we have that. That was the substantive comment there. I do have one on the following two. I don't know if you want to hear that now, but I can quickly bring it up.
No, we'll actually wait until that item comes up, yeah.
Sweet, then I'll wait and hold that for there.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks.
Is there anybody else with us this evening that would like to step forward and make public comment at this time? All right, hearing none, I will close the public hearing and call upon council for their questions and comments at this time. Yes, Councilmember Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, to Jeff's point, Dennis, do you have any insight on that? He's, it is correct that we cannot have a more restrictive code for mid-housing under the new RCW than we do for single-family. If we have a single-family exemption from some of the processes within this new code, that doesn't also carry over to mid-family. Any thoughts?
No, I actually appreciate Mr. Ward's comments. I think that's something that we should definitely include in this ordinance.
Yeah, it's kind of a moving target. I think, we were discussing this ordinance at the beginning, just before the legislature acted on that at the beginning of the year, and I think it just kind of carried on through the process and the steps with the numerous public hearings, and then the hearing before the Planning Commission, and then another public hearing, and of course that process alone stretches out over quite a period, and in the meantime we've got laws changing in the background. So with that in mind, this actually is a public hearing, correct? I guess the thought that I would suggest that we continue this public hearing until we get additional feedback from planning as to how that new RCW would affect this ordinance, rather than passing an ordinance that we know is going to have to be looked at again.
Okay, so are you making a motion of that?
Yes, I think that was a motion to continue the public hearing and
Okay.
get some additional feedback from staff regarding that conflict.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to continue this public hearing until we receive additional feedback from staff on the proposed regulation change under RCW. I don't remember the number that he cited. And then it was seconded by Councilmember Stuckey. Is there any further discussion? Yes, Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have to set a date because it's a public hearing? Do we have to?
Yes, we should set a date for which we will continue the public hearing to.
Oh, God, here we go.
I'll turn to the city administrator for some feedback on.
Well, we don't
time
meet
staff
again.
needs.
We don't meet again until August, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't do the 8/6 date because we're trying to do the 7/22 with items that move from 7/22 to the 8/6 meeting, so I would say let's look at September. I think it's the first meeting is the first, is it the 6th? I can't remember now.
It's right up there on the wall. I can't see it either. Yeah, so it'll be in September.
Okay, it looks like it's September 2nd. It looks
I
like
don't
it's
think so.
September 2nd. Wendy grabbed it.
Oh, we have two meetings in August, Serena.
Which we're not doing because we have the stuff for the Marina and Comp Plan carryover. Oh, okay. So yes, the 2nd. Okay, that's.
June and July are one meeting.
Yeah, looks like it from that. I'm going to say September, just because if we want to take it back to Planning Commission, I want to give us time to do that. And I don't believe we're meeting for the Planning Commission in August. So that's another piece I need to check on, so.
And yeah, I mean, this isn't a pressing
Yeah,
issue.
that's what I'm saying.
This
I
is an
agree.
internal, code cleanup issue, which we're trying to efficientize at the same time. So I'd like to add to my amendment a date specific of September 2nd.
Now what do we do? Second, are we gonna get a second on that friendly amendment? Okay. All right. So now we are going to, is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none. All in favor of continuing the public hearing to September 2nd? Raise your right hand. All right, passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, we are going to move on to public hearing ordinance number 2026, code amendment regarding permit review timelines. And Dennis, you are back up again. Or no?
No, that'll be me, actually.
Hi, I'm sorry, that's not what they have on my agenda here.
Thank you, Council. I'm Nolan Grunska, the Associate Planner, and I'll be presenting this. So last year, SB 5290 amended the Local Project Review Act, Chapter 3670B RCW, to provide for new requirements intended to increase the timeliness and predictability of local project review, rendering the applicable section of the Oak Harbor Municipal Code, Chapter 1820, out of compliance effective January 1st, 2025. The amendments to Chapter 3670B RCW pertain to permitting procedures covered in Chapter 1820 of the OHMC. Language from the RCW mirrored in the OHMC was adjusted in sections related to definitions and exemptions, but the most salient change involves updated project permit review timelines. Additionally, vestigial references to defunct planned industrial park and planned business park processes were found in this section, as well as a procedural section concerning counter-complete status, which has been rendered obsolete by a permit submittal process, which is now fully digital. After a review of the relevant code section, the city staff determined that the code section should be amended for clarity via the removal of the vestigial references and for compliance and consistency with the updated provisions of the Local Project Review Act. Some specificity on what these timeline changes are. Code currently requires any review to be completed within 120 days for type 2, 3, and 4 permits. The amendments require that review for projects be completed within 65 days if they do not require public notice, e.g. type 1 projects, 100 days for projects requiring public notice, type 2 projects, and 170 days for projects requiring a public hearing, type 3 and 4 projects. Type 5 projects are generally exempt from these timeline requirements. The Act also specifies that counting days must be specifically calendar days and not business days. Here are a list of the sections where these amendments take effect. In addition to that presentation, late last week, our legal counsel suggested, in addition to OHMC 182410, which clarifies the timelines along which an abandoned permit application has its review suspended and expired, 90 days and 180 days accordingly. Internally, that matches our building permit provisions for the same thing. And so, like the rest of these proposals, it reflects what is already the case. It's just sort of a custodial change to make sure that our code says what is true. And that's what I have for you. I'll take any questions you have.
All right, perfect. So at this time, I will open the public hearing, and I will confirm with our city clerk, Julie Nestor, that we received no public comment on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received in advance of this meeting.
Perfect, thank you. And then I will confirm that, I will request any additional comments from those Yes, come on forward, Jeff.
Hello again. By the way, I'm a big fan of what's going on with the code cleanup and all that stuff. On this particular one, in addition to the exemptions, was added for landmark designation, street vacation, not vacations. Anyways, a bunch of different exemptions were added in a single line in 18.20.130, and that's in harmony with the RCW verbiage, except for it drops the additional bit after the RCW verbiage, which says that these things require specific ordinance or resolution to say why they are exempted from the process and what additional special considerations they should require. As opposed to a general exemption, it's not a general exemption that says the landmark designation is exempted from these processes. It's just that, hey, if you have something along those lines, you really need to have specified it. At least in my reading of the RCW, it seems like that's there. So by adding in that line, it kind of makes it feel like you've said all these things can be done without regard to this process. So that's, to me, a pretty important distinction that needed to be brought out about this. I know that didn't make a lot of sense. It's a bit dry and technical, but I'm here. That's all I got.
Okay.
Tim's quick.
Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Do you have a page reference for the?
Sure. In ours, it's 18.20.130, I believe was item number
Okay.
2.
Thank you.
And in the RCW, it's 36.70B.140, section 5, I believe, or something along those lines. And the appropriate verbiages that we're missing is that required special circumstances that warrant different processing. And it goes on to say that these require ordinance or resolution specific to them.
So did we want to ask Bob Z to weigh in on this? Yes.
Page 528 of our packet.
So it's on page 528 of the packet. Bob Z, are you listening? Are you there?
I am, yes. Well, I can back up and start with the first item, and that is that Oak Harbor does not, isn't under the Middle Housing Act. It applies to cities of more than 25,000 in population. I don't think you hit that threshold yet, but I know you're close. So depends on whether or not you hit 25,000. And then also it applies to cities in a contiguous, it's something like in a contiguous UGA with a city in a county with more than, 250,000 people or something like that. So basically like some of the larger counties. So, so I can give you that piece. For the second item he was talking about, I'll have to look that up. I wasn't sure. You said page
528.
528. Okay, I'll go look that one up. 528. 536. 528. 19. Okay. Oh, this is on the code permitting process?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, can you tell me again what specifically he thinks is wrong?
So Jeff, if you want to just repeat what you think is wrong.
Sure, we added that an additional set of exemptions to this happens for the landmark designations line. There's several things in there, street vacations, things of that nature. And we left off the additional RCW language that says that those things aren't automatically exempted, is that they require special ordinance or resolution, and that describes their special circumstances for being exempted. So it's not a broad, generic blanket exemption is sort of what I read it for.
That might be possible. What's the RCW site?
So I don't have the exact verbiage I just wrote down, but it's 36.70B.140. I think it was section 5.
3670B. 140.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Right now. That one, that's not what that says, actually. That talks about interior alterations and construction activities. You said 3670B 140?
I might have written bad handwriting here. I'm sorry about that. If you search
Well,
for the,
I'm sorry, but that section doesn't say what you're saying it says.
if you search for landmark designations somewhere in 3670, I might have gotten the thing wrong there on the ordinance it cites. We stole the verbiage right from there.
Yeah.
It looks like.
But you know what you're saying, I'd have to see the verbiage. You know, that sounds familiar, and that sounds plausible. That we might want to have a specific approval, but I'd have to do a little research on this one first, without knowing. 36 70B. Let's see. Local project review. So this is the new, maybe planning could remember what RCW section this was responding to?
Nolan, do you have that information?
Maybe it's in the whereas clause. Let's see here.
We can just continue with this. Let's
Yeah, sorry.
So
I haven't seen this.
So I obviously am not familiar with this language, but now I understand what you're challenging is the specificity of what we're putting in there, and we're lacking that. So, yeah.
I would move that we extend this public hearing to September 2nd.
Okay.
Until we get further information.
So we have a motion to, okay, and seconded by Councilmember Romero to extend the public hearing until September 2nd. And is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Yes, Councilmember Romero.
I wanted to go on record publicly, Jeff, that your due diligence on your own time to hammer out the details, technical though they be, is much appreciated. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. We appreciate you, and we look forward to you. He's already got it in, so we're just looking forward to getting that approved. So any other discussion on this matter? All right, hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 2517, authorizing the mayor to order the lowering of federal, state, and city flags and affirming under which instances flags will be lowered. And here to introduce this is our communications officer, Maggie Aguilar.
All right. Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here again to present Resolution 25-17, a resolution of the City of Oak Harbor authorizing the mayor to order the lowering of federal, state, and city flags, affirming under which instances flags will be lowered. The city has not adopted this administrative process or policy to allow the lowering of federal, state, or city flags on city property outside of an order, basically waiting for notice from the governor's office. So other local governments have the authority to lower the U.S., the United States and Washington state flags, along with any other flags provided in policy. Policy is in place, which is why I am here today. All right. So a few weeks ago, I was here talking about this, specifically on June 3rd. And the staff submitted Resolution 25-17, affirming that display of flags on city property is government speech and under which instances flags will be lowered by order of the mayor and not have to wait for notice from the governor. The resolution also included the affirmation to add authorized federal, state, and city flags and those commemorative flags that were talked about and approved by City Council, which also would be displayed. For example, the POW MIA flags and additional commemorative flags approved by other cities that were suggested in that resolution the last time I was here, which included the Juneteenth flag and the Pride flag. And the majority of council expressed their support for the portion of the resolution which, with regard to authorizing the mayor to order lowering of the flags, but did not agree with the other portion of the resolution addressing the commemorative flags. So council suggested that we revise the resolution only to speak to lowering of the flags and not include any mention or direction of the display of commemorative flags. Here is the suggested motion on the screen. And since we are talking about flags, I wanted to bring my own flag, Mayor. Go Cougs.
Your evaluation's due soon. All right, so we will confirm that we've had no public comments on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No comments have been received on this matter since the resolution was revised.
Perfect, thank you. And is there anyone here with us this evening that would like to step forward and make public comment on this issue? All right, hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions or comments at this time. Huh? Oh, okay, well, make a motion.
I move to approve resolution 25-27, determining under which entrance of federal, state, and city flags will be lowered. City flags will be lowered and authorizing the mayor to order the lowering of the flags.
Second.
We have a motion as presented and seconded by Councilmember Marshall. Or is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. And it passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maggie. Next, under contracts and agreements, we have professional services agreement and small works roster contract with TSI Incorporated for water system telemetry upgrades. SCADA, I can't say it, don't even, it's too late. Here to introduce that is our engineering technician, John Pollock.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. John Pollock, Engineering Department, Public Works. Tonight, as the Mayor said, we're discussing the water system telemetry upgrades.
Thank
it's
you.
a fancy word to refer to us reading things remotely, measuring remotely, telemetry. And in the water industry, we refer to that simply as SCADA, which is a acronym that stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. And I'm presuming this button does the thing. Yes, it does. Excellent. Okay, so our SCADA system is a semi-automated software and hardware system, and it allows our water division staff to monitor and ensure that our water reservoir levels are full, that we have plenty of water on hand. It allows them to automatically start and stop the pumps to maintain those water levels. We measure the amount of water that flows into the city and the pressure that it comes in at, as well as it exists throughout the system. It detects and alerts staff to various conditions that need human intervention. So if there's a problem with the pump or if a tank is emptying too quickly, the water operators know that there's something wrong and to get out there and investigate, find out what it is and get it fixed. It allows for the remote control of those pumps so that automatically the computers will turn them on and off, but also in the event that we need to, we can also tell the system to turn that pump on from the Public Works compound. And it also keeps track of the various things like pump run times, flows, pressures. It creates a little historical document for us. And this is just a continuation of it. Our water staff will monitor those flows of the transmission mains. For those of you that may not be too familiar with it, we have a pair of water transmission mains that come underneath Deception Pass Bridge. We purchase around 95% of the water that we use from the city of Anacortes, and that's how the water comes to the city of Oak Harbor. Those reservoirs are continuously monitored. Pumps are turned on automatically. The pressure reducing valves, there's a series of these throughout the city, but they ensure that the pressure inside those mains are within the safe operating ranges for your home's plumbing. That way we don't blow up our fixtures, and our automatic ice makers and our refrigerators will continue to make those ice cubes for us without spraying everywhere if it breaks down. And we have a couple of pump stations that are monitored to ensure that we have a couple of zones with higher elevations throughout the city that there's adequate pressure available to them. In addition to that, the SCADA system ensures that we have our intrusion security system is active, and if there's a opening at one of those doors that's not authorized, it sends out an alarm to our staff to go investigate. Oftentimes, those are just nuisances, little bugs that crawl across the sensors, but it is a necessary thing to ensure that your system is safe. We have electrical generators at the majority of the water sites so that the pumps are continuously active in the event that we have a windstorm that knocks out our power. We measure and maintain the level of chlorine and fluoride in the system to meet our requirements from the Department of Health. And if there is a condition that warrants it, at all times that system will alert the operators both in the staff room at the Public Works and also call out on our city cell phones to let us know that there's something wrong to go out and fix it. So a little bit of brief history here. When the water system was first established in its current configuration in 1972, we had a old system. Public Works Director Stephen Schuler here is holding up a device called a chart recorder. And this device is one of the historical documents. We were required to keep track of how much water was being produced and consumed by the city, and that device would measure it every 24 hours, and it would keep a little graph, and it would draw it in a spiral fashion. This device was utilized by our water system all the way up until 1992. So yeah. It was an old manual way of doing things, and one of our operations staff would have to go out to the pump station each and every day and record how much water was made by reading that chart. Around 2000, we ended up with our first modern SCADA system, and there's a picture there in the packet. That's what it currently looks like. You have little graphical representations of the water tanks, the pumps, and little tracking history graphs on the right-hand side there. Yeah, this system has been working in its current configuration for the better part of two and a half decades now. Earlier this year, in February, we had our contractors complete the electrical rehabilitation of the Altfield pump station. The Altfield pump station has been online and in service since 1972, and those older components that were out there needed to be replaced and upgraded to things that we could actually service and find spare parts for. This will also serve as a hand-in-glove project. So this part of it was necessary so that power could continuously be provided to those primary pumps out there, and now behind it, we're having the controls come online to allow us to continue to monitor them. Currently, they are integrated and working with the current system, but there are weaknesses to it. One of those is that our SCADA system is currently on Windows 7. Windows 7 is currently 3 generations old as far as an operating system goes. It was officially offline from main support in 2015, and long-term support from Microsoft ended in 2020. The system has been in dire need of being modernized and upgraded for some time. It's been isolated from our IT network so that cybersecurity protocols, it's the final step. You take it offline from main IT network. We don't have nefarious actors out there trying to gain access to it because they can't physically interact with it. There's no pathway. That said, that computer system cannot be upgraded to a modern operating system without losing what we currently have. So we need to build something alongside to then take over from it. And since we don't have this machine networked, we also don't have many of the functionalities that a modern SCADA system have. And because of that, we are weak and brittle in many different regards. A brief overview of your water system. There are 10 facilities throughout the city, starting with our Altfield pump station that's on board Naval Air Station Whidbey Island off of the Charles Porter Gate. We have a pair of pressure-reducing valves, both at Gun Club Road on Oak Harbor Street and at Goldie Street near our transfer station at the Public Works facility. We have the North Reservoir that's a part and parcel with Freedom Park towards the top of Gun Club Road. The Red Wing Pump Station, the West Side Reservoir and its pump station, the East Tank, and the 3 city wells that are along Heller Street. All of those are all integrated and talk to our Public Works facility through a dark copper network and also a radio network. That has its own weaknesses involved. The network interface cards that take the digital signals that our sensors produce and transmit them into an analog noise. For those of you of at least my generation's age, you would remember old dial-up tones when you would log into the internet. That's what it sounds like on the back end of that copper network. You hear a whole bunch of little machine noises going on. Those network interface cards that translate that back and forth are failing and falling out of production, so finding replacement parts for those are getting hard to come by. The programmable logic controllers, these are the devices that are physically at each site that respond to those signals to turn on the pumps, to alert different conditions. Those are also well beyond production life. We can't even find them on eBay anymore. And we also are facing the tightening restrictions from the FCC with regards to the radio network that we have to operate our pressure reducing valves in our North Reservoir. Those could introduce different licensing fees and other challenges to us in the future. So last year, as part of your budget process, you authorized the Water Division and Public Works to have $855,116 underneath this capital project, and that's to utilize the Water Capital Fund. Earlier this year, we advertised a request for proposals for consultants to design and install the new system. We received 2 responses. One was from SOAP Engineering in Texas, and the other was from Technical Systems Incorporated in Linwood. Here's your budget sheet. You'll see that it's on page 64 of your overall capital budget plan with the breakdowns on the costs and the allocations of it this year. So after we did our standard process to advertise for those RFP submittals, we selected and reviewed the 2 responses, and we ended up evaluating Technical Systems, Inc., and we entered into negotiations with them. During this process, we determined that it was best to go with a 2-pronged approach. One was a professional services agreement, which will handle the programming and design work, and the other is the small works roster work, which will be the physical installation of the components in the field and the wiring for the new control panels and devices. And so the PSA portion of this will come to an amount of $320,590. I'm asking for a term of that to begin. I should have revised this to be July 15th. I apologize for that. We were intending to be on the June meeting. July 15th through December 31st. And this portion of the PSA portion, again, is for the programming and the engineering work. The small works contract, again, to the same company for $316,546.90. And again, that term should be reading from July 15th to December 31st of 2026, and that's for the installation and electrical work necessary. To go into a little bit more detail, SCADA customization, this isn't just a off-the-shelf, buy the program, plug it into the machine, and away we go and work. It does take some time to configure it appropriately for our staff and the uniqueness of each system. There is no ready-made commercial product that you just go down to your local software store and just install. It doesn't work that way. We also need to do some engineering work on that to do the electrical portion of it. So all those are underneath the professional services agreement. The small works contract, again, that's your installation portion. We are getting upgraded programmable logic controllers and new panels installed and wiring and L&I inspections and all that fun stuff. That all gets bundled underneath that half of it. And of course, the startup and quality assurance work before we complete and accept the project. So our recommendation, I think that we've made the case that our system is in dire need of being modernized and upgraded. So we do recommend proceeding with it at this point in time. We did conduct the fair and impartial process, and we negotiated what we believe to be is a reasonable price. The budgeted amount that you had set aside for this project is significantly more than what we negotiated for the contracts. However, there does remain this looming thing of our geopolitical forces of the world with different tariffs and things. We're asking for a change order allowance that is more significant than normal to account for the possibility that supply chains and those items may increase in costs beyond what we can reasonably foresee. At this point in time, I'll pause for questions before giving you your recommended motion.
All right, so before we do that, I will confirm with our city clerk, Julie Nestor, that we've had no public comment on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
And I will turn to those here with us this evening to see if there's anybody who would like to step forward at this time and make public comment on this issue. All right, hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions or comments. Yes, Councilmember Romero.
What is the 5% that doesn't come across the bridge in the pipe? The 95% comes across, where's the 5%?
So, Councilor, I heard your question as being as the missing 5% of the water that we produce. That's being produced by your wells in a production capacity during the monthly operational tests that are produced. And we account for that. We have to account for every gallon that we either make inside the city or we purchase outside.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, John. I'm really excited to see us upgrading and modernizing our water system, and that we're able to do this even with the sizable change order allowance to still come in under budget. So great work, all. You know, I really appreciate what you're doing. I'm excited about moving forward with this. So thanks.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Marshall. Anybody else for the good of the order? All right, hearing none, I will entertain that motion there, Mr. Pollack.
All right, the suggestion motion is on your monitors. It is to authorize the mayor to sign the PSA and the small works contract.
Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to authorize the mayor to sign the professional services agreement in the amount of $320,950 and a small works contract with Technical Services, Inc. in the amount of $316,546.90 or 90 cents, and to grant the Public Works Director a change order of allowance of $150,000 for the project.
So we have a motion as presented by Councilmember Marshall, seconded by Councilmember Romero. Is there any further discussion on this issue before I call for a vote? All right, hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Pollack, for your presentation.
Thank you, council. Thank you, Mayor.
We are going to move on to construction contract award, Southwest Lopez Drive reconstruction project. And once again, Mr. John Pollack is up to present.
I'm back. I didn't really step away. So this project here tonight that I have with this discussion is our Southwest Lopez Drive reconstruction and water main replacement project. It's a combined project here. And this one I'm heavily vested in because it was my first design project. So I'm excited to bring this to you for approval. The project will be replacing the water main that's in both Southwest Lopez Drive and Southwest Kirk Lane. So on the map there you have the half circle arc, quarter circle arc of Southwest Lopez, and that little stub cul-de-sac that goes north from there is Kirk Lane. We'll be upgrading some storm drain lines and replacing failing sidewalk and ultimately reconstructing and paving the entire roadway. We advertised for this project's construction on May 24th, and we received and opened the bids on June 16th. Our original estimate from the engineering department was between $1.1 million to $1.35 million. And the bids that we received in this, we had 4 responsive bidders, and their amounts are listed there on the screen. The apparent and responsive low bidder was C. Johnson Construction in the amount of $892,286.08. Of that, we are allocating $556,623.30 from the Transportation Benefit District, and from the Water Capital Fund, $335,662.78 to make up the project total difference there. The water fund replacement for the services in the water main, of course, and the TBD for the rest of the utility work that goes into this. We have an estimated schedule for a late July, early August start, and we expect the construction to be completed in September. We will be conducting public engagement and outreach, especially for the residents of those two streets that are affected by this, but also just in the general area as well, since could potentially affect school commutes and school bus pickups and things of that nature. So we'll be conducting some pretty intensive community outreach for that. And so we have the recommended motion is to allow the mayor to award the contract for the Lopez Drive reconstruction product to C. Johnson.
All right, so before I call upon council, I will confirm with our city clerk, Julie Nestor, that we received no public comment on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
Thank you. And then I will ask those that are here with us this evening, if you would like to make public comment on this issue, if you would step forward at this time. Hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions and comments on this topic. Yes, Councilmember Stuckey.
So when we're working with TBD dollars, I think we will probably want to do the most amount of good that we can with that. You know, I hear what you're saying about the water lines.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I mean, there's what, probably 15, 20 homes on this drive? Does that sound?
It's about that.
About that. What would you say to those who are saying, hey, why are you ignoring things like Pioneer with roads that need it more? Like, what do you have a response for those sort of things? Because as opposed to putting that money somewhere else, we're diverting the money to here, which would affect, a few amount of people in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
But is this the best, most effective use of our TBD dollars?
I would argue with you that it is the best and most effective use of our TBD dollars because our TBD is restricted to only being utilized on locally classified streets. Pioneer Way is a collector street for most of it, and it serves as a minor arterial on a small portion of it, and therefore we cannot utilize the TBD funding for that project directly. So that is the answer that I would say to that particular question. Now, would some say that the funding that we're allocating for the reconstruction of Lopez and Kirk seems to be disproportionately high? Perhaps, but I would say that this road, unfortunately, has been in this condition for the better part of 7 years, and it's high time that those citizens receive a little bit of tender love and care from their city. And so we need to reconstruct this roadway. We're replacing the water main. This is part and parcel with it. That would be the line that I would take.
Darn good answer.
Thank you, sir.
All right, anybody else for the good of the order? Yes, Councilmember Romero.
With regard to selecting sites, the city has a prioritization process for projects, correct? That's a question that would lead to doing this section of roadway and this infrastructure as opposed to others. Is that true, or is it just a decision based on an analysis by Public Works?
To that end, I would invite the city engineer up to provide some additional input on that, but if you would like to, I will yield to him for that.
Thank you, John. Yes, I'm Alex Warner, your city engineer. There is a process to this. We initially identified the ratings of the roads with a consultant, and that was part of the development of the TBD adoption. To make a constructible project each year, we focused on a specific quadrant of the city. So we've gone through each of the quadrants. We're now back in the southwest quadrant of the city. This project really bubbled up to the surface because it is in quite disrepair. It needed the water main. It just fell together in that let's focus on doing a roadway reconstruction. This is our first reconstruction we've done with TBD funds, where you're not going to get the lane miles you get for the chip seal or even a grind and overlay. So yes, it is a bit, a process in the fall that we go through in Public Works. So there is some flexibility there, but we are always trying to achieve producing the most improvement for the public. This fall, we'll go through the process again. We'll be on to the next quadrant of the city. And it's always top of my mind expanding as many lane miles as we can with these TBD funds.
Thank you for that answer. We're always concerned, or at least have on our mind, the citizens of our community as they expect a fair return or a fair treatment by this public services and public works to distribute across the city. So thank you for that excellent answer.
Anybody else that would like to ask? Mayor Pro Tem.
Always happy to see a contract go to a local outfit, so I'm pleased to see that, and congratulations on the progress of your first design project. So we'll be celebrating in September when it's all said and done.
Thank you, ma'am.
We expect that to be a great high bank oval.
And I do want to point out that a 10 to 15% design cost is being saved on this project. So that's approximately $100,000 to $150,000 that we are not spending on consultants because we have this expertise in-house.
Because we do it in-house, excellent. See, you just justified your position for the whole year, I love it. I move to award the contract for the Southwest Lopez Drive Reconstruction Project, project number ENG 2402, to the low bidder, C. Johnson Construction, Inc., in the amount of $892,286.08. Get the 8 cents. And authorize the Public Works Director to sign change orders up to $100,000. That's supposed to be a comma? $100,000? Okay. For an indirect, or for amount not to exceed $992,286.08 in total.
So we have a motion as presented by Mayor Pro Tem,
Second.
seconded by Councilmember Merrow. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Pollock, and congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you for your hard work as well on this. We are going to move forward to our next construction contract award, Southwest Swantown Avenue Overlay. And here to introduce this is our city engineer, Alex Warner.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is the other construction project we are intending to complete this summer. This is a nice project in that we've had paving in this vicinity through various funding mechanisms. We paved Fort Nugent Road several years ago. This last year, we partnered with Highland County and did the western portion, the northwestern portion there of Swantown, and even a section of Heller that comes down and connects to this area. Additionally, this is where the fire station at 82 is currently under construction, and we've been working with Chief Anderson to coordinate our schedules, and hopefully we'll have a beautiful new road for the beautiful new fire station. So this is a grind and overlay. We'll remove the top 2 inches of asphalt. We'll put down 2 inches back, so it'll look the same from a geometric standpoint. There's some signal work we're going to do. You can expect some modification to the signal at Fort Nugent and Swantown. Additionally, we're required to bring our ADA curb ramps up to current regulation, and we have 4 of those at that same intersection that are going to be replaced. So we advertised in May. We had the bid opening in June. We have 3 bids. It's always nice to have more than 1 or 2 that we can compare. Our estimate was between $600,000 and $720,000. The low bidder, Miles Resources, which recently purchased Craig Construction, who had done our paving for the last 4 or 5 years. And prior to that even, they came in with a low bid just shy of $700,000. So a breakout of the funding sources, there is a correction here. It is not TBD funds, it is TIB, which is the State Transportation Improvement Board. It was a grant program that we've now received grant funding for the previous 3 years, including this one. So it's been very successful. It is always great to bring that outside funding into this project. And the reason we can apply to those funds for Swantown is because it's not a locally classified street. This is actually a minor arterial. It receives the most traffic of any city-owned street. So that is covering 348
$136, and our local streets capital is covering the $350,333. That is for the local match portion. So we're anticipating starting construction, I'd say earliest late July, but more likely the majority of the work will happen August, September. And we're hoping to have this completed by the end of September. So similar to the previous projects, this was designed in-house. So again, 10 to 15% savings on that. So rough ballpark, about $100,000 savings again. So I'm just very excited to see that we can do two projects, a water main replacement and a roadway improvement project in-house. That is something we've been working on for many years. So that's definitely something I want to highlight here. So with that, I can take any questions, and the recommended motion is on your screen. All right, thank you. And I will confirm first with our city clerk, Julie Nestor, that we've had no public comment on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
And I will request comment from any of those gathered here this evening. If you'd like to step forward and make comment on this issue, now's the time to do so. All right, hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions or comments on this matter. Councilmember Stuckey.
So this is Wright, in my neck of the woods. I'm a little farther north on Swantown. This is my normal running route, so it's a place I know quite well. A couple of questions. Arguably, Swantown at 20 is kind of the big bottleneck in the city. Reducing from 4 lanes to 3, is that going to have any impact on that bottleneck? As people are turning off onto Swantown?
I really don't think the modification of the lanes in this portion of Swantown are going to affect that. It's controlled by the signal at Swantown and Highway 20. Those are conversations that we've had with WashDOT when we've been able, to get in touch with them. That is an ongoing, larger conversation. They have state funding assigned, but it's, getting shifted around with the budgets that they're proposing. We currently have one of the lanes closed in the westbound direction, and I haven't seen any sort of issue with that. And to clarify, the proposed cross-section now is going to be 2 travel lanes with a bidirectional bike trail on the road. So just to correct you, it's not a 3-lane section. We're going from a 4-lane section to a 2-lane section.
Okay, that's an important specification. And then, if I remember correctly, after there was that paving, you go farther north on Swantown, there is a lack of sidewalks on Swantown. Is there going to be a connecting at some point, or are we just going to have that gap of no sidewalk? I know that's not this project, but is there a plan there?
Yeah, that's a great point. We've been coordinating with the county, so that actually is one of our little pockets of county within the city limits. So we don't control, own, or operate that portion of the roadway. We did work with them last year to get as much width as we could. So now you may notice that the paved shoulder is a bit wider than at least what it appeared before they did that paving operation. But they're not in the business of providing sidewalk, curb, gutter, stormwater, all of that we deal with in the city. So again, we're coordinating with them the best we can. Perhaps in the future, that's something we can work on.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. Anybody else for the good of the order? All right, hearing nothing, I would entertain a motion. Councilmember Stuckey.
I motion to award the contract for the Southwest Swantown Overlay Project, project number ENG 2403, to the low bidder Miles Resources LLC in the amount of $698,469, and authorize the Public Works Director to sign change orders up to $100,000 for the total amount not to exceed $798,000, $798,469.
All right, so we have a motion as presented by Councilmember Stuckey, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Alex, for your presentation. Thank you. We are going to move forward to another professional services agreement with BHC Consultants LLC for engineering design services for I&I Correction Program Project. And here to talk about that again is Alex Warner.
Thank you, Mayor. So we've talked streets, we've talked water, now we're talking sewer. So this, it's been a little while since we spoke on this project, but again, it was a great accounting of funds down in Olympia to allot this nearly $2 million to the city of Oak Harbor. In effect, we're protecting our new sewage treatment plant down at the water by limiting the amount of groundwater and rainwater intrusion into our sewer system. So that was appropriated in 2023. It's to address our leaking sewer mains, specifically in the southeast portion of our town, which is the oldest infrastructure that we have. And it's to reduce what we call inflow and infiltration. And that's the I&I acronym you may hear. So in January of this year, we issued a request for qualifications for engineering services. We had BHC determined after internal review that they were the most qualified applicant at that time. So we worked on the scope and deliverables in the last couple months. We've now identified as part of their scope of work, they're going to do a condition assessment. Luckily, we have a great crew at Public Works that has gathered a lot of that information already with their camera footage, their own determination of the condition of the pipes. That's saving us tens of thousands of dollars not having to rely on a consultant to go out and do that work for us. So then BHC will put together a preliminary design, a course of action to address these leaking sewer mains. The final design will be put together after city comments, and they'll provide us bidding assistance and support during construction. Thank you. So with that, I can provide any additional information that you may like at this time, but we're asking that you approve this professional services agreement with BHC Consultants in the amount of $219,000.
Great, thank you, Alex. And so I will start with confirming from our city clerk that we've received no public comment on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
All right, and is there anyone that is here and present with us this evening that would like to step forward and make public comment on this issue? All right, hearing none, we are going to move forward then to council for their comments and questions on this issue. Councilmember Merrill.
On the previous agreements and so forth, there was a provision for what it really cost overruns or something to that effect. Is there anything like that in this one?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is written into this total amount as essentially a contingency that we'll only authorize if deemed necessary. I believe it's about a $15,000 cost.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Romero. Anybody else for the good of the order? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, may I just add a quick comment?
Sure, you just did.
Yeah, I just want to highlight, we want to extend special thanks to U.S. Congressman Rick Larson, who was the person instrumental really for the city getting this. It was only one of a dozen or so that were provided for his district, which goes from Blaine to the north all the way down to, I think, at Edmonds or Linwood. So we just want to extend a special thanks to Congressman Larson.
Thank you. All right, anything else? All right, I would entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to authorize the mayor to sign a professional service agreement with project in the amount of $219,000.
We have a motion as presented by Councilmember. Further discussion on this issue. All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. For us to take a 5-minute recess, so we are going to adjourn for 5 minutes and return.
guys are not.
The city council has announced that they will extend that break. It will not be a 5-minute break, it will be a 10-minute break. Thank you so much. City council will return at 7:25.
If we knew that that was a capability.
Hit it hard. All right, 7:25, we're back in session. The next item on the agenda is approval of accounts payable vouchers. This item is necessitated as this voucher list contains a payment to the Oak Harbor Chamber of Commerce, of which Councilmember Marshall is the executive director. In order to avoid a conflict of interest, Councilmember Marshall has stated he will recuse himself from a vote on such payments. This voucher list had already been in progress prior to the decision to separate chamber payments to a single item voucher list. Moving forward, any payment to the chamber will be on a separate list. So I will confirm that we've received no public comment on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments have been received.
And is there anyone here present with us this evening that would like to make public comment? All right, hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions and comments. Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to express my appreciation to you and to the staff for separating these things and making it so that we don't have any potential conflicts. So I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, this one was already in process before all that happened. So we will make sure that these are two separate items going forward. So anything else from council on this? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the accounts payable vouchers. Yes, Councilmember Wiesner.
I move to approve the accounts payable voucher as presented.
We have a motion to approve accounts payable vouchers as presented, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. And then Councilmember Marshall recused himself. So, thank you very much. We are going to...
I'm sorry. I would just like to add that is, I'm sorry it wasn't in the motion, but that is accounts payable voucher list 6A.
Oh, I'm sorry, 6A.
Just for the good.
I didn't have that here, sorry.
Yep. And then if you'll announce the final vote.
Yes, so we have 5 in favor and 1 recusal. Yes. All right, moving forward to purchase authorization, Bauer Verticus Plus 6,000. And here to introduce this topic is our Grants Administrator, Wendy Horn.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am Wendy Horn, the Grants Administrator. We applied for a CDBG grant back in the summer of 2024, a year ago, almost to the day. And we were successful in receiving $120,000 to buy 2 pieces of equipment for the new station 82. One of those pieces of equipment is this Bauer Verticus Plus compressor system. Basically, it refills the air stations for the firefighters. The bid came in the quote came in at $90,000. So we are using our Sourcewell contract, but per the purchasing policy, equipment over $75,000 requires your approval. It will be installed by the contractor. It's needed by the end of this year. There's a 4 to 6 month lead time, so we would like to get it purchased sooner than later. So with that, this is the recommended motion, and I'm happy to answer questions, but the fire chief is here as well.
Great, thank you, Wendy, and I will confirm with our city clerk that we received no public comment on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
Thank you, Julie. And is there anybody that is here with us this evening that would like to step forward and make public comment on this issue? All right, hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions and comments at this time. Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations, Julie, on getting this grant. That's very exciting. Is this the only allocation that we have of that $120,000 so far, or have we spent any other portion of that?
No, the other piece of equipment that we are purchasing is an equipment extractor, and I can let the chief explain what exactly that does. And I believe it's on order?
Yeah,
soon.
we just, it's going through the process right now. So the other piece of thing is, it's basically a washer, a laundry machine that is high-tech, that extracts all the products of combustion out of the turnout gear. We have a big problem with carcinogens in the fire service, so super important piece of equipment that we have to have for the health and safety. And then we did have some money left over after those 2 pieces. We came in under budget, so we also were planning on getting a decon washer, which washes
all the other pieces of equipment we can't put in that extractor, and cleans it. And so it's 40,000. We use 10,000 from that, and then 30,000 will come from the bond we were going to pay for the whole 40,000 out of the station. So we were able to get that too.
Excellent. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Marshall. Anybody else? All right, if there's no other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion. Mayor Pro Tem, sorry.
I move to approve the purchase of a Bauer Verticus Plus 6,000 compressor system for Fire Station 82 from Sea Western Firefighting Equipment, utilizing Sourcewell contract 011824 SEW in the amount of $90,233.85.
And I second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion as presented by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Merrow. Is there any further discussion on this issue before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Wendy.
Wendy, thank you very much for your presentation. Next is our Transportation Benefit District Annual Report, and here to introduce that topic is again our Grants Administrator, Wendy Horn.
Yes, I'm standing in for Chaz and Dave tonight, so thank you for your patience. This is the annual report for the Transportation Benefit District. Oak Harbor created the TBD back in 2018. The voters approved it in a 0.2% sales tax in 2019. It went into effect in 2020. This tax generates approximately $987,000 each year. And the funds, you've heard often, many times tonight, they're dedicated to maintain and preserve our local streets. So currently, as you can see, at the end of 2024, the balance in the TBD fund was approximately just over $2.5 million. In 2024, there were two projects that were utilized these funds on Southwest 4th Avenue and Northeast 1st Avenue. The cost for that was $173,000. And then, as noted in Alex's presentation, this year we will be using, or I guess it was John and Alex, these funds for the Lopez Drive reconstruction project. And approximately $550,000 of the TBD funds will be used for that. And if you have any other questions about the report itself, Alex is still here to answer the tough questions. And with that, I think Steve might have wanted to make a comment or two as well.
Yeah, thanks. Just first, it has just been fantastic to work with Wendy Horn and the finance team and really putting this together. And again, as Alex Warner explained, the in-house design that's happening to make these projects move forward. So there's a lot of positive things happening. I just want to bring council's attention to the fact that, again, we did a TBD study in 2018, went to the voters. That 2018 study, as we have mentioned, that because of construction cost inflation, which is much greater than the headline CPI inflation, we're going to be facing a growing problem, it appears. And so I just wanted to give you a heads up, because we're going to be having this discussion over the next 2 or plus years. We have a wonderful revenue that's coming in, that let's call that in the millions. Our need is in the hundreds of millions, so 2 orders of magnitude greater. As a director, I would just tell you, yes, additional taxes is always an option we can look at, but that's not going to, it appears, that's not even going to solve the problem. We have to come up with another way, and this is what's interesting with what's going on with the federal government and then with the state government, where our Washington State Department of Transportation Secretary has said many times for many years, we cannot do any more projects. We have to focus on just preserving what we have, which we cannot do. And he's, said that over and over again. And again, that's a consistent message. So Wendy just did a beautiful positive message, and I'm sorry to bring this to you, but I'm bringing this because we really are going to have to put some serious thinking together on how we solve a problem that's 2 orders of magnitude greater than our current wonderful revenue, which is brand new and just started coming in when the voters approved it in 2019. And here we are 6 years later, And this is the reality that appears to be getting worse. And so, again, the federal government, I don't think is going to help us that much, and the state government is struggling. We've got this wonderful funding that we're going to do, but again, it's getting really difficult because, again, it's gas tax based. I think it's 6 cents, which becomes less and less value every time, and the legislature tries to fill it back in. So we've got this collision course. And I always tell you what it appears is that the local governments are really having to come together and really look at these problems hard and solve this for their local community. That's how people are moving forward and making very great progress. And so they're doing that, and so you're getting these local solutions that are making a lot of impact in their area, and others are being left behind. And so I just want to kind of bring that to your attention as we talk about the TBD, because that's something we're going to bring forward to you over and over again in the next couple of years. Thank you, I guess.
Councilmember Romero.
Thank you, Director Schuler. Do you have any observations about the driving force behind these disproportionate cost increase for infrastructure going forward?
Yeah, no, I love like community members, Jeff Ward coming and talking. I think this is me talking, not the city. I really don't think this is a political issue. I think this is just a cultural issue where we are as a society, in that what it takes to actually build infrastructure is something we did really well as a nation, right? And then it's all of a suddenly kind of dives into a political conversation, which I'm going to try to avoid and do this in 30 seconds. We really focused on providing infrastructure, but I think as a culture, as a fairly new culture, right? It was after World War II, especially on the West Coast, that we really did a lot of this work. We forgot what it means to then have to go back and rebuild that infrastructure. And that's where Oak Harbor is. We have to rebuild our town, and that's a lot different than having raw land that you build that was raw in 1945, and then people come in and start, the Navy comes in, the bridge gets built in the 1930s, and people take that and build the first level of infrastructure. So we have to figure out how we redevelop, and that's a much different process. And how you do that is not easy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Romero. Councilmember Arms.
You're right, Steve. When we were at the AWC, that is what they were talking about. We listened to them over and over again, try to figure out how they were getting money, what they were going to do with that money, and how they were going to improve their infrastructure. City after city after city brought it up. I mean, you know, they had some innovative things before everything else has hit whatever, and they are all looking at it. How are we going to get the revenue and do it? I mean, it was a theme the whole while. You know, everybody is thinking, how did you do that? And so you're right. That was a predominant thing that I heard.
Thank you, Councilmember Arms. Mayor Pro Tem, and just to add one thing before Mayor Pro Tem speaks, we are working closely with our county partners as well as WashDOT. We just secured another $900,000 for the city of Oak Harbor for the repaving of Midway. So we are making progress, and we're continuing to drive our agenda forward, being the largest city in our county. So yes, I know there are a lot of hills in front of us, but it is not the end of the world either. We will get there, one project at a time. So with that, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Just some thoughts on, you know, how we got here and moving forward in an intentional way. Most of our country's infrastructure is roughly the same age. You know, it was all the highways and everything. There was a huge infrastructure investment. Everything was built, and now it's all aging. And so, you know, every city is in the same boat. Because, you know, when you build a house, you have this nice new house and you're excited about the house and you're going to live in the house. You're not thinking about 100 years from now, is this house still going to be standing here? I mean, yeah, I know I'm going to have to replace a roof and some windows, but, you know, what happens when the actual structure itself needs to be replaced? You're not thinking about that. You're enjoying your new house. And something that we can do better as a city whenever we do make a big capital investment in infrastructure is be having that 100-year discussion about, we know that there's going to be maintenance and repairs along the way, but what is the plan? There needs to be a plan. But we build the thing, we cut the ribbon, we're all happy about it, and there's no plan for when that infrastructure ages out and needs to be replaced with anything other than routine maintenance. And every city, state, county in the country is in the same boat. So that's all kind of coming home to roost at the same time. And so the I don't know, the jousting for dollars, there's only so many dollars, and yet everybody needs everything replaced. So I think just going forward, we can keep in the back of our minds that there needs to be a plan beyond just routine maintenance and repairs. We have to be thinking about what comes next, and that's that's not an easy question to answer. And we don't know what the landscape will look like 100 years from now, but it's incumbent upon us to leave this city better than we found it. So just always thinking ahead in the back of our minds. So thank you for gently reminding us of that when we need a reminder. I appreciate it, Steve.
I do think that you guys are doing a great job as council too with our priorities and helping us to stay focused, because one of the things that we just finished doing was submitting over $5 million in grant requests for safer streets along the State Route 20 corridor. So this administration is working and advocating to bring every bit of resource and revenue in the way of grants that we can bring in to address this problem that we are facing. We're well aware of what the problem is. It's just we've all got to continue to go after the money that's out there. So,
and to that end, thank you, Wendy, for existing.
Councilmember Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, we're suffering, from a hangover. I think a lot of cities are, right, as lots of cities are looking to rebuild infrastructure, and the ramp up of contractors is a multi-year, if not multi-decade event. I'd like to think we're starting to come, a little bit on the backside of that. Just looking back just a few short years ago when we were having problems getting more than one contractor to bid. I can remember several contracts we put out to bid with no bidders whatsoever, and several contracts that we were putting out that were coming in over budget consistently, and we were having to either go back to the drawing board to look for more money, scale down the project, or forget the project altogether. Tonight, of course, we just approved one project that's came in $450,000 under engineers' estimates, right? And we got to hand it to folks like C. Johnson, and of course now the Miles folks stepping up with the purchase of Craig and our local contractors. If we can keep these guys fed and we can keep them here and we can keep them working here, I think we have a lot better opportunity, obviously, in the future of being able to come in with, again, more competitive bids, coming in below engineer estimates, because competition is what drives it, right? When the request for contractors out there is larger than the number of contractors that are there, he with the most money wins, and often that's counties and cities that are larger than ours, and so hopefully we can continue, and I think part of that is us being steady and committed to these projects, and knowing that there's more projects coming on. It helps feed those contractors, which helps feed those crews, which helps make it so that they can put in a competitive bid, and complete the project. With that said, either Steve or Alex, I get it's the county's decision, but why did they decide to skip chip sealing this year?
Councilmember, I can't say the exact reason. That was just communicated to us. I know that they've focused on contracting out overlays throughout the county, and then the alternating year they've done chip seals. So that could just be a program change for them where they do the chip seals with their own staff every other year instead of choosing to do it every year. So I'm going to reach out to them again this fall to see if they'll do some chip seals for us this following year. And that's where, you paint the town black, you really start to see those lane miles. So I'm definitely going to reach out to them and see if they can do that for us again.
Yeah, and because 2018 study, as you know, Alex, proved to us that maintenance is cheaper than replacement. I mean, Lopez Drive is a perfect example. The reason that is so expensive is because it's gone into such a state of disrepair, and we know that when we start getting those D quality lanes, and those lanes are going to degrade a lot faster than a B quality lane, and we spent a lot of time on that study, and of course, part of that study was that rotation, and having, I think we were a 7-year rotation, if I remember right, where we were trying to touch most of the lane miles in the city every 7 years in some way, shape, or form. And obviously, when we skip a year, there's probably got to be a bit of a makeup plan. Otherwise, obviously, that maintenance, if we're not getting to all the maintenance that we could, we're going to have some streets degrade, and the expense goes up astronomically. So any support we can give you on that moving forward, if it's political support you need or whatever, let us know, because that is an important part of that entire TBD. The idea is to have, granted, it's not enough money, I get that, Steve, but at least to have a consistent amount of flow to make sure that we can, be ahead of those projects rather than behind them, because before that, quite frankly, we just didn't even have the money to keep up. Now it seems as though we've got a little bit of money to keep up, but we're lacking the I guess, method to do it, right? And so I just want to make sure that we don't end up with a few years where we skip that maintenance, because that is an important part.
So, Councilmember, one thing I will add that is a kudos to the team here is Commissioner Johnson and the IRTPO really talked about how we were ready to go, which is what allowed us to go get those dollars that were made available. So the work that our teams are doing over the last couple of years to really build that material and have the packet to be shelf ready or ready to start that shovel ready project has really helped us to step ahead of other groups, because we were able to say, here's the project, we got the details, we're ready to go. And in fact, one of the conversations that came out of that is, let's look at the list of items that are coming for the future and what is on there again that we could move forward. And one of the things that we were complimented for is, again, having that item ready to go so that we could move forward. We didn't have to delay. We could meet those contract deadlines or the deadlines for using those funds. So that's a big, woohoo for our team, because they put that work together and made that happen.
Timing is definitely everything. There's no doubt about it. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Sabrina.
All right, is there anything else for the good of the order? All right, hearing nothing, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, you have an executive session?
Was there a motion for this? No, I know there's...
No, this was a report.
Okay, you've got that on here. That's why I'm asking. That's what I thought too. So, all right, at this time, the council will move into an executive session per RCW 4230-110I to discuss with legal counsel litigation or potential litigation, and per RCW 4230-110B to consider the selection of a site. I'm just going to keep talking while everyone talks over me, or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of increased price. The anticipated duration of the executive session is 15 minutes. Action may or may not be taken upon return to the open session of the meeting. Executive sessions are not open to the public.
The council has announced that they will extend the executive session for an additional 5 minutes to 8:10 p.m. The count. The council has announced they will extend the executive session for an additional 5 minutes to 8:15. The City Council has announced that they will have an additional extension to the executive session for 5 more minutes till 8:20 p.m.
All right. We have come out of executive session and will now resume the regular meeting. No action will be taken by the council at this time regarding the matters discussed. There being no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, so we have a motion by Councilmember Wiesner, seconded by Councilmember Merrow. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Adjourned at 8:20.